Georges St-Pierre doesn't just win, he dominates. With surgical takedowns, pinpoint strikes, and a fight IQ that left champions confused and crowds speechless, GSP turned the octagon into his personal chessboard. He's not just precise, he's clinical. Not just a champion, but the blueprint for greatness. In a sport where talk is cheap and chaos sells, Georges rewrote the script with silence, discipline, and destruction. A two-division world champion, a Hall of Famer, a living legend who made excellence look effortless. But his story didn't end when the gloves came off. Away from the bright lights of the UFC, Georges built a legacy that stretched far beyond the cage. Today, he's a multi-millionaire, cruising through Montreal in a sleek black McLaren, stepping onto movie sets, and fronting global endorsement deals. He didn't chase fame, he quietly became its definition. So before we break down the life, legacy, and untouchable reign of one of MMA's most complete fighters, drop a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Because this isn't just a fight story, it's the legend of Georges St-Pierre. Before the bright lights of the UFC, before the championship belts and the roaring crowds, there was just a skinny kid from a quiet town in Quebec. Born on May 19, 1981, in Saint-Isidore, Montérégie, life didn't exactly roll out a red carpet for him. Bullied at school, having his clothes and money stolen, Georges learned early on that the world could be harsh. But instead of breaking, he found strength in something most kids his age only dreamed of: discipline. At just 7 years old, he began training in Kyokushin Karate, not to chase glory, but to defend himself. That decision would become the first chapter in a lifelong pursuit of mastery. By age 12, he had already earned his second-degree black belt. He didn't just stop at karate. As a teen, he dived into other sports: hockey, skating, and anything that pushed his limits. At École Pierre-Bédard, he even set the school's record for most chin-ups, a small but telling sign of his relentless work ethic. And when high school was over, he didn't just jump into fighting. He enrolled in kinesiology at Cégep Édouard-Montpetit, balancing his studies with rough jobs to make ends meet, working as a nightclub bouncer and even collecting garbage for 6 months just to pay his school fees. The grind never stopped, and yet, all along, he carried a dream, inspired by action icons like Jean-Claude Van Damme, who he'd one day share the screen with in Kickboxer. Vengeance. Georges wasn't just building a body, he was building a future. At 20 years old, that future stepped into the cage for the first time as a professional fighter. He wasn't the biggest, he wasn't the loudest, but from the moment the bell rang, it was clear this guy was special. As he began to climb the ranks, it wasn't just his physical skill that set him apart. It was his mind. His strategic precision, his mental toughness, and his laser focus earned him not only victories, but respect. The fighting world had seen stars before, but GSP was something different. He was calculated, composed, dangerous, and always improving. And while the world would come to know him as a champion, a legend, and arguably the greatest mixed martial artist of all time, his story didn't start with fame. Today, he stands not only as an icon in the fight world, but as a multi-millionaire whose success stretched far beyond the octagon. With an estimated net worth of about $30 million, built through his UFC dominance, endorsement deals, and Hollywood roles, his legacy is as financial as it is physical. Few fighters in the history of mixed martial arts have ever transcended the sport quite like Georges St-Pierre. At the age of 19, with no Olympic wrestling background, he stepped into the Montreal Wrestling Club to train under the legendary Victor Zilberman. Sharing the mats with world-class athletes like Guy Sissouri and Canada's national wrestling team, Georges honed a skill set that would later become the cornerstone of his dominance inside the octagon. He dreamt of representing his country in the Olympics, but fate had other plans. When he debuted in the UFC at just 22 years old, defeating the highly respected Karo Parisien at UFC 46, he showed flashes of something special. In his very next outing, he earned a TKO win over Jay Hieron, showcasing striking to complement his elite wrestling. That combination of athleticism, humility, and precision earned him an early title shot against the then-dominant Matt Hughes at UFC 50. But under the bright lights and the weight of the moment, the young Canadian came up short, submitting to an armbar with seconds left in the first round. It was the first loss of his career, and a moment that would shape the rest of it. Later, he would admit that he wasn't just fighting Hughes, he was in awe of him. That psychological edge had cost him dearly, but rather than letting the setback define him, he used it as fuel. It triggered an obsessive quest for growth. After a rebound win via Kimura over Dave Strasser, he returned to the UFC like a man possessed. He dominated Jason "Mayhem" Miller, choked out Frank Trigg, and became the first man to stop the previously indomitable Sean Shirk. Then came the first of his storied battles with BJ Penn at UFC 58, a hard-fought split-decision victory that showed the world GSP was no longer a rising star. He was a legitimate threat. But destiny wasn't ready to hand him the crown just yet. A groin injury forced him to delay his long-awaited rematch with Hughes. But when he finally got a shot at UFC 65, Georges left no doubt. In one of the most impressive performances of his career, he dropped Hughes with a thunderous Superman punch, left hook combo, then finished him in the second round with a head kick and brutal ground and pound. It was his coronation, and a moment of national pride as a French-Canadian fighter rose to global stardom. Yet just 5 months later, the newly crowned king was dethroned in stunning fashion. At UFC 69, Matt Serra, an 11-1 underdog and winner of the Ultimate Fighter, caught St-Pierre early with a flurry of punches that led to a first-round stoppage. It was one of the biggest upsets in UFC history. Behind the scenes, he was fighting a more personal battle. His father was ill, and he had lost a cousin he deeply loved. He later admitted that mentally he wasn't fully present, and the loss exposed cracks in his foundation. But this time, Georges didn't just regroup, he rebuilt. He brought in an all-star team of coaches, from Greg Jackson and John Danaher to striking savant Faraz Sahabi, and became the prototype for the modern MMA athlete. Everything from strength and conditioning to nutrition was optimized. The evolution was staggering. He returned to form at UFC 74, out-wrestling NCAA champion Josh Koscheck, proof that he could beat the best at their own game. Then, in a trilogy bout against Matt Hughes, he left no doubt, submitting the veteran with an armbar to capture the interim welterweight title. A unification bout with Serra loomed, and it came with poetic justice. At UFC 83 in Montreal, the UFC's first ever event in Canada, Georges fought like a man avenging a nation. He overwhelmed Serra from the opening bell, using relentless wrestling and vicious knees to the body before finishing the fight in the second round. It was the beginning of an unprecedented reign of dominance. Over the next 5 years, St-Pierre ruled the welterweight division with precision, discipline, and surgical brutality. He shut down the iron-willed John Fitch over 5 rounds, avenged the Penn rivalry in a one-sided drubbing that forced a corner stoppage, and gutted out a victory over the dangerous Thiago Alves while nursing a torn groin. Against Dan Hardy, he put on a grappling clinic, attempting multiple submissions, and though he couldn't get the finish, he left no doubt about who was superior. Perhaps most symbolic of his cerebral mastery was the rematch with Josh Koscheck at UFC 124. St-Pierre dismantled the brash wrestler with a piston-like jab, breaking his orbital bone and landing a record-setting 55 jabs in a single fight. He didn't just beat opponents, he demoralized them. Yet, even in his dominance, danger always loomed. At UFC 154, Carlos Condit nearly shocked the world with a head kick that dropped the champion. But like all great champions, he weathered the storm, rallied, and controlled the remainder of the fight. His next test came against the volatile Nick Diaz, whose unorthodox boxing and relentless trash talk failed to rattle Georges, who used his superior wrestling and fight IQ to win decisively. Then came the most controversial fight of his career. At UFC 167, Johnny Hendricks pushed him to the brink. Many believed Hendricks had done enough to win, but the judges awarded Georges a razor-thin split decision. Battered and emotionally drained, he stunned the MMA world by announcing he would step away from the sport, vacating the belt he had held for nearly 6 years. His reasons were deeply personal: burnout, concerns over PEDs in the sport, and health issues. During his hiatus, he underwent ACL surgery and dealt with ulcerative colitis, quietly healing both body and mind. 4 years passed before he made his triumphant return, not at welterweight, but at middleweight, against champion Michael Bisping at UFC 217. The night was electric. After a competitive start, he dropped Bisping with a left hook, then choked him unconscious with a rear naked choke, becoming only the 4th fighter in UFC history to win titles in 2 weight classes. But true to form, he vacated the belt just a month later, unwilling to hold up the division while managing his health. Outside the UFC, he tested himself in the world of submission grappling, competing at the ADCC World Championships and defeating tough opposition like Otto Olsen. A planned 2023 grappling match with old rival Nick Diaz fell through due to injury, but the attempt alone spoke volumes about his enduring competitive fire. On February 21, 2019, in his hometown of Montreal, Georges St-Pierre officially announced his retirement. But his legacy was already carved in stone. A UFC Hall of Fame induction followed. A life-size bronze statue was unveiled in Saint-Isidore, and he was awarded the Order of Sport from Canada's Sports Hall of Fame. Through it all, he remained more than a champion. He became a symbol of excellence, reinvention, and class. In an era where fighters often relied on trash talk and gimmicks, he let his discipline, intelligence, and heart do the talking. Beyond the octagon, he has lived a life defined by discipline, humility, and a quiet dedication to self-mastery. Known for his intense focus and reserved nature, Georges has long kept his personal life out of the public eye. Despite occasional rumors linking him to celebrities like Mandy Moore and speculation about an unplanned pregnancy, he has never confirmed any romantic relationships and prefers to keep his private matters private. His stoic exterior masked deeper struggles. Following his first retirement, he opened up about battling depression, describing a period where he felt mentally overwhelmed. In 2014, he revealed that he has obsessive-compulsive disorder, a condition he credits as both a challenge and a driving force behind his relentless pursuit of perfection. His OCD compelled him to train with meticulous detail, making him one of the most prepared and technically refined fighters in MMA history. Grounded by his upbringing and early experiences with bullying, he has channeled his success into meaningful causes. He founded the GSP Foundation to fight bullying and promote youth involvement in sports, an effort that reflects his belief in the transformative power of athletics. Outside of fighting, he is deeply passionate about gymnastics, often practicing advanced bodyweight movements as both exercise and art form. His love for physical performance extended into acting, where he played the mercenary Batroc in Captain America, the Winter Soldier, and appeared in Kickboxer, Vengeance, roles that paid tribute to his martial arts roots. Despite his fame and forays into Hollywood, Georges has always remained humble and grounded. He avoids scandals, shuns the party lifestyle, and surrounds himself with a close-knit circle of friends and training partners. Despite the fame, fortune, and accolades, Georges St-Pierre has never fully embraced the extravagant lifestyle that often comes with celebrity. Instead, he walks a different path, one grounded in purpose, discipline, and a deep appreciation for simplicity. While many stars build their identities around flashy purchases and public appearances, St-Pierre has always kept his feet firmly planted, choosing comfort, performance, and personal fulfillment over public spectacle. His home in Montreal is a reflection of that ethos. Luxurious, but not ostentatious. It's a private sanctuary where he can recharge, train, and reflect. A space that mirrors the balance he's cultivated in his life. Though he's worth millions, he doesn't parade wealth around. He's been seen driving high-end cars like a Range Rover, a sleek BMW, and even a Ferrari 458 Italia. But these aren't just status symbols. They represent his appreciation for precision, craftsmanship, and performance, qualities he values in every area of his life. Interestingly, St-Pierre's journey with cars began humbly. Long before he was a household name, he drove a used Toyota Corolla, an unassuming start that reminds fans just how far he's come. As his career advanced, he slowly added to his collection with intention, not excess. Alongside the Ferrari, there's a Chevrolet Corvette Stingray, bold and timeless, and a Ford F-150 Raptor, a rugged off-road machine that suggests his love for adventure and versatility. Each vehicle tells a part of his story, combining a past rooted in modesty with a present shaped by high performance and taste. But material things have never defined him. His true lifestyle is built around health, routine, and the pursuit of personal growth. Even in retirement, his day-to-day revolves around training, disciplined eating, and meticulous recovery practices. He's constantly exploring new ways to sharpen both body and mind, whether it's through cold plunges, high-tech recovery tools, or studying movement disciplines like parkour and animal flow. He also has a quiet wanderlust. He enjoys traveling the world, not for the luxury, but for the culture and knowledge it brings. Whether it's hiking remote trails, immersing himself in ancient martial arts philosophies, or trying street food in Southeast Asia, he collects experiences over possessions. His social media, while never flashy, occasionally offers glimpses of these journeys. A snapshot of a new city, a humble meal in a local market, a scenic overlook after a long trek. That's the essence of Georges St-Pierre. For him, life isn't about indulgence, it's about mastery. Whether in the octagon, behind the wheel of a precision-engineered machine, or exploring a new corner of the world, he seeks quality, meaning, and balance. His lifestyle may include luxury, but it's never driven by it. Instead, it's shaped by the same values that made him a champion: discipline, humility, and an unrelenting desire to become better every single day. Before you go, don't miss out on exclusive perks. Click the link in the description to become a channel member and enjoy awesome benefits, like suggesting future video topics, getting early access to new content 48 hours before anyone else, and much more. Your support means the world and helps us keep bringing you the stories you love. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe for more amazing content. And while you're here, why not check out our deep dive into Israel Adesanya's video? Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.